Leafs Nation, grab a coffee, take a deep breath, and sit down. Because what we are hearing right now out of the rumor mill is exactly the kind of off-season earthquake that could redefine the future of this franchise. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves for a second. This 2026 season has been an absolute nightmare. We are on the wrong side of the playoff line, and watching the postseason from our couches is not what anyone expects when you wear the blue and white. We already saw the writing on the wall when management pulled the plug at the trade deadline, shipping out Nicholas Roy to Colorado, Bobby McMahon to Seattle, and Scott Lawton to LA. But if you thought the bloodletting was over, you are dead wrong. Every fan of this original six franchise needs to stop what they are doing and listen to this, because the summer shakeup is already brewing, and a massive name has just been dropped into the trade bait bucket. According to Bleacher Report's Adam Gretz, the Toronto Maple Leafs are seriously considering moving 25-year-old restricted free agent MATIAS Maccelli. Yes, you heard that right. The guy who has been one of our few bright spots down the stretch might be packing his bags. This is huge for Toronto. And today, we are going to break down exactly why this is happening, what it means for our salary cap, and what Brad Treliving is really plotting behind closed doors. Let's not just read the headlines, let's look at the cold, hard numbers and the reality of playing under the brightest lights in hockey. MATIAS Maccelli is currently in the final year of a 3-year contract that carries a $3,425 million average annual value. For a guy who has put up 14 goals and 33 points in 57 games this season, that is a very digestible number. But here is the catch. He is a pending restricted free agent. He is 25 years old. And if you have been watching the games at Scotiabank Arena lately, you know he is heating up at the exact wrong time for our salary cap, posting 4 goals and 9 points in his last 9 games. I believe we are looking at a classic Toronto Maple Leafs cap crunch scenario. When you have the core four eating up a monumental percentage of your total salary cap, every single dollar spent on the supporting cast has to be scrutinized under a microscope. Maccelli is going to want a raise. He has earned a raise. But can the Maple Leafs afford to give a $4.5 million or $5 million AAV to a middle six winger when we desperately need to rebuild our blue line and restock our prospect pool? It's time to admit that the strategy of going top-heavy has left our depth completely hollowed out. Adam Gretz hit the nail on the head when he said this entire season has been such a disappointment that the front office should be open for business on pretty much everybody outside of Austin Matthews and William Nylander. Think about how this changes our forward lines. If Maccelli is shipped out, you are instantly creating a massive hole on the left side of your second or third line. Maccelli is a playmaker. He is a guy who can enter the zone with possession, slow the game down, and find trailing forwards. Without him, the Leafs become significantly more one-dimensional. We become easier to defend. But on the flip side, moving that $425 million off the books and avoiding the impending RFA raise gives Brad Treliving the financial flexibility to finally address the defensive woes that have haunted this team for years. We also have to factor in the pressure. Playing in Toronto is not for everyone. The Stanley Cup drought hangs over this city like a dark cloud, and every mistake is magnified. Maccelli has had an up-and-down season, but he has shown resilience. The question isn't just about money, it's about asset management. Do you pay a premium for a 25-year-old winger who is just hitting his prime, or do you sell high to fix the structural flaws of this roster? Now let's play GM for a minute. Let's dive into the what-if scenarios, because this is where the future of the franchise will actually be decided. What if Brad Treliving pulls the trigger and trades MATIAS Maccelli this summer? Who assumes his place? If Maccelli is gone, the Leafs will have to rely heavily on internal development. We are talking about guys from the Marlies having to step up and play meaningful NHL minutes. You are looking at a scenario where the Leafs might have to scour the bargain bin in free agency to find a veteran who can give you 40 points for under $2 million. But let's look at the return. If you trade a 25-year-old RFA who is producing, you aren't just giving him away for a bag of pucks. Treliving needs to acquire long-term assets. We need draft picks. We need blue-chip prospects. Our prospect cupboard has been raided time and time again to fuel playoff runs that ultimately went nowhere. Trading Maccelli could net the Leafs a late first-round pick or a high second-round pick, plus a B-tier prospect. That is the kind of currency you need to start rebuilding the foundation of this team. And what if this is just the tip of the iceberg? We already know that guys like Brandon Carlo, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and Simon Benoit were floating around the rumor mill at the deadline. What if Tree Living packages Maccelli with a guy like Carlo to make a blockbuster move? Imagine the cap space. Imagine the return. You could fundamentally alter the identity of this team overnight, but let's flip the coin. What if Tree Living decides to keep him? What if the Leafs look at Maccelli, see a guy who is on the right side of 30, and decide he is part of the solution, not the problem? If you extend him, you are betting that his recent hot streak, 9 points in 9 games, is his new normal. You are betting that he can be a 60-point guy next season. If he does that, a $4.5 million contract looks like an absolute steal. However, keeping him means sacrificing elsewhere. It means you might not be able to afford a top-pairing defenseman. It means you might have to let other depth pieces walk. Tree Living is walking a tightrope right now. He has to balance the immediate desire to bounce back next season with the long-term health of the franchise. I believe Tree Living's best move is to quietly shop Maccelli at the draft. Gauge the market. If a desperate team overpays, you take the assets and run. If the offers are lowball, you sign him to a bridge deal and let him prove it again next year. You know we can't talk about a massive Leafs rumor without taking the temperature of the fan base. I have been scrolling through X all morning, reading the forums, and listening to the local sports radio here in Toronto, and let me tell you, Leafs Nation is completely divided on this one. Half of the fan base is absolutely furious at the idea of trading him. I saw a tweet from a Leafs diehard 99 that said, "Are we seriously going to trade our only young winger who actually shows up in the bottom 6? Pay Maccelli and trade the dead weight." And honestly, I get that frustration. It feels like every time we find a diamond in the rough, we are forced to ship them out because we can't afford them. It's the curse of the flat cap era and our top-heavy roster construction. But then you have the other side of the fan base, the analytical side, who are looking at the big picture. The Toronto media has been hammering home the point that this team needs a culture shift. A prominent beat writer noted this morning that accumulating draft capital is the only way out of this mess. Fans are tweeting things like, "Love Maccelli, but if he gets us a first-round pick and clears $4 million in cap space, you pack his bags for him." The pulse of the community right now is a mixture of exhaustion and anticipation. Missing the playoffs has left a bitter taste in everyone's mouth. The fans at Scotiabank Arena deserve better. They are tired of the same old story. They want change, but they are terrified of management making the wrong move and setting this rebuild back another 3 years. We are all feeling that anxiety right now, so here we are, Leafs Nation. The offseason hasn't even officially started for the rest of the league, but the drama in Toronto is already in mid-season form. Brad Treliving has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and MATIAS Maccelli is the first major domino that could fall. I want to hear from every single one of you down in the comments right now. Here is my controversial question for the day. If you are the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, do you give MATIAS Maccelli a $4.5 million extension and lock him in as part of the future? Or do you trade him at the draft for a first-round pick to restock the cupboards? There is no middle ground here. Let me know your exact trade packages or contract numbers down below. If you bleed blue and white and want to stay on top of every single rumor, trade, and signing this offseason, you need to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are going to be here all summer long, breaking down every move as we try to end this Stanley Cup drought once and for all. Keep your sticks on the ice, Leafs Nation. I'll see you in the next one.